Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of the Floor 26 podcast, the show made by young people for everybody. My name is Adam Duffy, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. Please welcome Jordan Adisa, also known as J Equinox. How are you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing great, buddy. Good to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. I know you were coming off a long road trip last night, and so I'm glad you're able to make it today, though.
Yeah, and I literally went into work the next day. I'm just like, oh, bro, this is terrible.
You're running it. Wow. Well, you know what? We'll keep it chill over here. We won't exert you too much. But, Jordan, for the audience, tell me a little bit about yourself. You're a videographer, a pretty prolific one, a videographer for a lot of artists, for your own projects. And so tell everyone sort of how you got started in this and what you do for the most part nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. So, I am trying to figure out which order I want to put this in. So, cinematographer slash videographer slash photographer slash director, a whole bunch of roles, I guess. But yeah, I mainly do directing music videos and directing films. Yeah. And I do, I dabble in pretty much everything, I would say.
Yeah, anything where you're holding a camera, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Well, yeah, awesome. We've known each other for a long time. We've worked on a few projects together. And you're very talented in all those respects for sure. I want to thank you again for coming on. As some of you may or may not know, we touched on it in past episodes, but about 3 months ago, we recorded an episode with you. And we unfortunately messed it up on our end, and so we were unable to release it. So I appreciate you coming on again. And funny enough, next week we'll be doing the same thing, re-recording an episode that likewise wasn't able to be published. And so this month I've sort of dubbed the month of redemption when it comes to that. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the work you've been doing recently. What I see you doing a lot in recent months is making music videos for Wale the Sage. This is like full artist name, right?
Right.
And you started making music videos for him a while back, I'd say, right? Like it's almost been like a year and a half, right? And it's
probably been longer than that. I started making music videos from like back when I was a freshman in college, so like 2019-ish.
Wow. Coming on 3 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jesus. That's interesting, because I remember like you would post about these music videos and they were always all very well put together. And then certain songs would sort of blow up and become more popular, and so I've sort of seen this trend as they grow as an artist, like seeing you along the way, recording all these music videos, and every time they get a little more ambitious and a little more intensive in their creation. And so I guess just tell me about that process of how'd you get started doing that? How'd you meet him, and what was the process of making that first video like?
So let's see. I made a friend in my first year of college from my, I think, film aesthetics class. And he was like,
I took that class too. It's funny.
Yeah, we were chit-chatting in that class and we were like, hey, let me see some of your stuff. Like, I showed him some of my stuff and he was like, oh, that's cool. He noticed that I shot music videos. He was like, yeah, I have this artist. He's also my friend. His name's Wale the Sage. And it was like, yeah, can you shoot like a little visual for him for his, I forgot the name of the song. It was on the video where he was on top of the parking deck, which is like the stereotypical like place that everybody shoots nowadays. But that's how we first started off, and we've been going strong ever since.
That's sweet. And I guess your most recent one that you made for him was for the song "Everybody Dies."
Yeah, "Everybody Dies."
Yeah, which great song, pretty fantastic. And I was watching the music video for that, and that one seemed to be the sort of the most ambitious project so far from what I saw. You had some amazing shots at some cool locations, and you had that animation segment, which we were talking about a little bit for the show, how you guys sort of outsourced that to somebody. So with that project, was anything different for that music video, or at this point, do you have a fairly clear sort of workflow when it comes to making all these music videos?
Workflow wise, that's funny. We try our best to plan out the music videos far in advance, but that never seemed to be the case. So we kind of do everything kind of last minute. But you know, it does turn out fairly good in my opinion. So I'm just waiting for the day that we can plan out further ahead and show the world that what we can really produce. You know, putting two creative minds together and you know creating like a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah, totally, totally. And for even considering that, they come out well polished and not they seem like they are really methodically planned out. And I guess talk to me about that sort of melding of creative minds. How much do you two work on the creative visuals of the video? How much influence do the both of you have?
He actually does a considerable amount of work putting into the videos. Um, Starting out, he tried to dabble here and there in like the color grading aspect of it. Um, he also does a lot of like the lyrics that you see his videos have. A lot of those he does himself, even though it's not like a huge part, but he does contribute something. As far as like pre-production goes, we do collaborate quite a lot. I take my inspirations, he takes his inspirations, and we somehow meld them together and create something.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, yeah, I guess, and that being sort of at least what I see you doing most in recent months, dedicating towards that. How has that been over the past 3 years, having that be like a consistent sort of creative outlet and having it develop over all this time?
It's great, man. Like I've slowly see his like audience grow like larger and larger, especially due to TikTok. Bro, TikTok is a great platform to be on. I'm just saying. I know the Chinese stealing all of our information and stuff, but you win some, you lose some, I guess. So
yeah, it's interesting. You hear all these things, but at the same time, I mean, it's how so many people get noticed. It's one of those things where you have like the bad parts of it, but since everyone's using it, you sort of have to engage or to really be competitive in that sense.
Right, for sure. I try my best not to be what's it called? A brain dead Gen Z person. Just mindlessly going through TikTok, but bro, it's so addicting, man.
It's crazy. I mean, I barely use TikTok. I have one for the show. And when I go on to like supposedly post for that, I end up like going on my For You page and just scrolling, and then like half an hour will pass and I'll be like, holy shit. And I'll like snap out of it. And I'll be like, what just happened? I just kept scrolling. It's a very simple formula of like a single swipe and then just like something new every second.
Right. I don't know what it is about the app, bro. It's like the most addicting app for me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like if you look at the numbers, I mean, people our age and other groups are spending like hours and hours every day on it. And it's just so crazy how much visibility it has.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great way to get exposed, for sure, if you're an artist and you want to just showcase some of your work to the world. I mean, it's going to be scary at first if you're just starting out because, you don't want to get your work flamed by, potentially millions of people if it blows up. But, yeah, I'd say if you really want to start, TikTok could be a great place for you to get exposed.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. We've tried to invest a lot into that too, trying to spread the word not only sort of locally through the people we have on, but also online because it's just as important. And I guess just last thing about this sort of music video trend you've been on, between the different like creative projects that you work on, whether it's your own material or it's making these music videos, have you found something that you really sort of cling to as like your favorite method for expressing these talents, or are you still just sort of floating between things?
Kind of confused on the question. So you're saying like, what's my?
Yeah, like do you think music videos and for whoever they might be like the thing you want to pursue the most, or are you still interested in other pursuits?
I would say it's kind of 50-50 in my brain right now. I would say my main pursuit is probably feature filmmaking. But music videos is something that I'm just happening to do right now. So
yeah, totally. And I think either of those could definitely be viable options for you. I've worked with you on fictional projects starting 6 years ago. Or so, which maybe 4 years, but it's insane. Working on, like in high school, working on like rinky dink 2 week like short films that are 5 minutes long, and I still like occasionally will watch it back and just like, kind of reminisce on that time. But you know, looking at that, sort of some of your earliest standalone projects to now, I mean, as far as I remember, your most recent one was last Halloween, the Hollowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, just comparing the two, and sort of how you've grown is really impressive. You know, the Hallowed, I was there on that project, just, you know, being the best zombie I could, and the best dead hand I could, and I thought that came out really well.
Yeah, bro. Shout out to you, man. Like, so we'll dive deeper into the making of my short film, The Hollowed.
Yeah,
But I just want to say, Adam, you're a trooper, bro. Like going down there in like the godforsaken like bowels of the stadium, it's a hard thing.
you know, it was to me, it was like I was getting really into it. You know, I was like I'm not much of like an actor. I don't really like enjoy it. I don't think it's something I'd like be necessarily great at, but I was like, God damn it, Adam! You're gonna go down in these abandoned stadium. You're gonna breathe in all of this black mold, and you're gonna enjoy it. And then when Jordan tells you you're a zombie, you're a motherfucking zombie. And then of course we have my iconic run down the hallway with like the
Bro,
red flare.
that's really what sold it, honestly.
That was the money shot right there.
Yo, honestly.
Yeah, people who have seen it always, like, people I've shown it to always tell me that like my run's really convincing. And so that's my number one accolade, really.
Wait, what was your method to actually running like that?
I don't know. I think it was just like after like asking you like what kind of zombies we were, and it's like, oh, we're fast zombies. I was like looking at like Left 4 Dead 2 and like World War Z, and just thinking like, I always see a zombie running with like one like limp leg, where he's got like one like stiff leg, and he's just like throwing it along with him. And I was just like, let's give it a shot. And I'm like, Chase, I'm sprinting you down the hallway.
Yo, dude, like, let me tell y'all, bro, when we actually filmed that, we were filming it in the basement of like the stadium, right? And like we were kind of doing like test shots, I guess. And I told them to viciously sprint at me, and I was actually like sprinting for my life as I'm hearing like growls and groan from behind me. Like, that's actually nightmare fuel.
Yeah, no, and I mean, no matter how much it's like acting and it's all set up, like being chased just like triggers this like a thing in our brains to be like, oh shit, we're like,
dude,
we're about
it was
to get run
like
down.
it was triggering something like primitive in my brain, like I was actually about to die.
Yeah, it was like some fucking like Neanderthal sort of like on the hunt sort of thing. No, I thought it was really fun, and then just having been there to just capture really just like the scene itself. It didn't need as much, a whole lot of production or a whole lot of editing to really sell. It was really just like one take of you being sprinted down the hallway, and it really worked for that case.
Yeah, I think what really sold it was the location.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's part of the Morehouse College. It's an abandoned stadium, and I'm like, as much as I see people visit there, it's like a tourist attraction at this point.
Yeah,
But like I noticed that like I haven't seen anybody film like an actual film there. So I was like, you know what? I might be the first one. I haven't seen anybody else to do it. So I was like, you know, I might as well.
yeah. You know, I mean, I'm fairly tapped in, at least a little bit, going to like Georgia State, to like, you know, student films and all that, and like indie films being made by young people. And when you showed me the location, I didn't know about it. And when I saw it, I was like, this is perfect. And yeah, there's a lot of people going in and out, and it's definitely like a small tourist attraction now, but I've never seen anybody make anything significant there. And I'm interested because some people I've talked to about the location, they've told me that they told me horror stories about like security running them out of the place, and like getting like misdemeanors for trespassing and stuff like that. And like
from that place?
Yeah, from that place. And it's like we didn't see a single like authority the entire time we were there, and we were there over like 3 days.
That's so funny.
So it's just, so maybe they just have a bad experience and we don't. But no, it's one of those locations that's just perfect. It's not only is the stadium abandoned, but like all the buildings within eyeshot are like also abandoned, and so it's perfect for like it's perfect for that setting. And it's one of those things. It's one of those cool things that like the idea really comes from the location, you know, which I think is always interesting when you have like a single piece of the puzzle, whether it's a location, whether it's a single scene or something like that, that just like spurs an entire project from it. You know, I recently, this semester I've been in film classes, and it gave me sort of an excuse, having like assignments to actually like make something, which I haven't done in a long time. And so I recently recorded a project like a few months ago. And the entire idea really spawned from there was an idea there, but it really spawned from the some of my LED lights just have like these very configurable settings. Like you can make them simulate like police lights or other cool stuff like that. It's one of those things that just like motivates you to want to use those in a way. So it kind of pushed me to want to make something of it. And yeah, it came out pretty well. It was really interesting because like the past like years, I haven't had any time, I feel like, to actually make anything. And so sort of being forced to was just nice. And I got like 10 or 12 people here at the house to record. Chris was there.
Nice.
And I know, and it turned out all right. It was nice. You know, I've one thing I sort of realized, I think, is you always talk about like when it comes to like gear that like a videographer uses or cinematographer uses. You know, it's not about the gear; it's about how you use it to a certain extent. But I think to a certain extent, you sort of breach like the limit of what you have, and so I'm hoping to invest in some new stuff soon. It's just because I feel like I've outgrown what I have.
Really, you feel like you've gone to that point already?
I mean, it's like the camera I use is the one that's looking at me right now. And it's like it's nice. It's really good. It's like solid. I wouldn't say it's like super nice, but it's just like a solid workhorse camera. And you know, I've been using a lot of different lenses to capture certain things, and it's been good. But I'm thinking of making a switch soon to something better. And I've been debating on like brands and types of cameras, and I was curious if you had any feedback on what you typically use.
That's so funny, like, bro, like there's so many cameras out there, and it's such a hard thing to get into.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to know, like, I don't have like the most spectacular camera. Like, I have the Sony A7R2, a bunch of letters and numbers, But yeah, I mean, I made my short film, The Hollowed, on that camera and the A7 III. So I mean, it's not a, like, you know, to a degree it is a budget friendly camera.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, I do agree that the gear does get you to a certain point to where you realize that you have to upgrade to something better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you know, the Sony line is great. The A7s are great. They can really take you really far. And I was debating between that, because, you know, there's a lot of advantages of that, you know, like low light capabilities and just like overall, sort of the intelligence of the camera and just like the things you can do with it. But also really gotten obsessed with the Pocket Cinema line from Blackmagic, sort of like the smaller like Cinema 4K cameras. And like, I've been debating between the two because there's like a lot of advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, that's actually that brand is what we shot Wale's latest video on. So that camera, it was the Ursa Mini 4.5K.
Oh, the Ursa Minis.
Yeah,
I've used one of those before.
Oh, really?
They're pretty great. Yeah. Man, those things are strong. How'd you get to use it?
Wale has connections, so he has a friend who has one. So
Okay.
I was fortunate enough to use one for the first time. But yeah, bro, that's a beautiful camera. Like, it produced some beautiful images. So
Yeah, totally. Was it difficult to like learn the interface and like all the things about it?
kind of, sort of. He kind of helped. Shout out Chris. He was the one that kind of helped me maneuver like the settings and whatnot. But yeah, as far as like your project that you filmed, what is there any particular place that you gain, I guess, sort of like inspiration for what you want to create?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go a little more into it. You know, this one was called Solenoid of the Mind, and it was about it was like 7 minutes long, but it's about a guy who learns that he can't sleep anymore. And the short film follows his last like week or so on Earth, where like he slowly like descends into craziness and then finally dies at the end. And the idea came from like I think a story out of like some sort of like indigenous village in like the Philippines, where like a man like started like noticing that he couldn't sleep, and then like over like the course of like a month or so, he like sort of went crazy and you know, like eventually died. And then like, this brings me back to like the 8th grade, but like the Russian sleep experiment thing that we'd see online all the time. It's just stuff like that, just sort of the idea that like, and it was sort of motivated by just like the fact how like sleep can or a lack of sleep can make you feel like the world around you isn't real. That's why it's called solenoid of the mind, because so a solenoid is a type of electromagnet that only is activated once an electrical current is run through it and run through a little spiral, and that's when it actually is able to be active. And so in my head, your brain's sort of like a solenoid that requires the electricity of sleep to work, and so that's why I named it after that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time like mulling over the names of these sorts of things. Like I do like a lot of like research into like definitions and.
Oh, speaking of which, bro, like y'all don't know, Adam was part of the reason why I named my short film The Hollow. I'm sorry, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna make this about me, but like I was like, what should I name this? I have this currently named as zombie short film. Like I have no idea.
MP4.
Yeah, we're googling definitions and we're like The Hollowed. I can't remember like all the definitions off of my head or out of my head, but I think one of them was like, dude, help me out, I forgot.
No, I remember when you asked me, I was like, okay, let's sit down and let's think about this. And I forget where Hallow even came out. I think part of it was just because it was releasing on Halloween, and
yeah,
so
part of it.
I started looking into it, and I do remember just off the top of my head, and this is just for me being a super big nerd, that hallowed means like two things. One, it means like extremely clean and holy, which I thought was like a good sort of name to give like a short film about zombies and this zombie virus, and also a lot of the religious connotations when it came to like some of the sub story within it. And so I thought that would be like a cute term to use to sort of split the difference between those two ideas. And yeah, it was just the hollowed.
Yeah, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
bro, Adam's a good idea, man. I trust me, y'all. But yeah, another inspiration where I got that. Another inspiration that I got to make that short film was The Last of Us.
Yeah.
It's, like, video games has played a huge part in like my life, and so I think a lot of people. Well, not that I've seen, but I don't think a lot of people really merge the two mediums together that I've seen. The love of like video games and filmmaking. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a decent amount, but yeah, I would say that video game has been probably one of the best video games I've played like to date.
Yeah. I gotta admit, I only got through about half of the first Last of Us, not because I didn't like it. I did enjoy it. I just at the time, my brother stole my PlayStation from me when he moved out of the house, and so I wasn't able to finish it. And I guess I mean I understand like most of the plot and like the storylines and all that. But remind me like how what sort of elements of The Last of Us really spoke to you in terms of like that really gripped you?
I would definitely say parts of the story, even though I know a lot of people really dislike the second one.
I didn't play it, but all I heard is that it's like very controversial.
Yeah, I mean, I have mixed feelings about it. I didn't absolutely hate it. But as far as inspirations from the game, that I tried to incorporate into my film was more so just the environment. And I don't know, it's like I've always wanted to put myself in that environment itself. Like what would it be like to act in like a post-apocalyptic type of world? Yeah,
definitely. And I want to get more into the sort of the making the hollowed, but you've told me that you have interests in being like a bigger actor and delving more into that. And so I'm curious if like like you said, was that a big motivation, just sort of wanting to get into the character of a world like that?
It's funny. I mean, I'm open to the fact. I mean, I'm open to acting, but it's not like my main thing.
Yeah.
I think the main reason I acted in the film was I didn't want to have another headache of like not having a reliable person to show up to set.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think we have a similarity there. On this most recent project, and I made 3 this semester of various sort of different things, and in each one, I ended up being the primary actor in it. For like 2 factors. One, because like incorporating another person into a schedule is difficult, and 2, like to a certain extent, when I create these ideas and sort of lay it all out in my head, like I'm looking for a very specific performance, which I feel like which for some reason like I personify as like only me being able to do.
Yeah,
and
I have the same mentality.
yeah, and it's interesting because I'm sure like if I really looked into it, I could find somebody who I think was qualified and could give that performance. And so I guess it's sometimes a matter of like time constraints, but in reality, I just find it easier for me to be in front of the camera so that I know exactly what I'm getting out of it. So yeah, do you have that same mentality?
Dude, that you worded that beautifully. Like same mentality.
Yeah, yeah, and it's sort of strange, and then but I also have this annoying thing where I also have this very specific method for how I want like shots to be composed and like how I want different scenes to play out, and so I can't be behind and in front of the camera at the same time, and so sometimes it creates a headache where I'm trying too much to manage both sides of it, or I'm like having people stand in for me while I set it up how I want, and then I swap out to go in front of them, and so it's not a super efficient process, and it's probably something that I could work to fix in the future, but it's kind of it's a necessity in my mind. So like make sure I have like total control over how it's done.
Right, dude. Like I also give props to my man Ben, my cinematographer for the and like camera operator for my film. Dude, like having like a core group of people that you actually trust to help you out on a project, it's very beneficial.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad to like have people that I make connections with, especially like you, like and other people through high school. But yeah, if you can find a group of people that you actually trust, like definitely get them on projects.
Yeah, super important, super important. Yeah, definitely. And so, the Hollow was pretty great. It was just like 5 of us, really, 5 or 6 of us, and just like kept it like tight and clean. I thought it came out really well, and more on that, sort of talking about how the genesis for certain projects comes from certain elements. Was it, when you made that short film, was it, you had the location in your mind, you had the idea in your mind. Was it just birthed straight from that, or were you like looking for somewhere where this script could fit in, like a place?
I mean, I really made the film just to test myself as a filmmaker because I wanted to try to make the entire thing, start to finish, pre-production all the way through the phase of like editing, all within the span of 1 month, and I did. I used the very last day, the 31st, because I literally was at work trying to finish like the final edits, like on my like lunch break and like 15-minute breaks or whatever.
Wow.
But yeah, I used all of the time that I could to cram it in and release it all within 1 month.
Yeah, and what do you think about giving yourself sort of time constraints like that? Because obviously it's impressive at the end when you see what you're able to make in such a short amount of time, whether it's a 7-day Cobb County Film Festival challenge, or if it's like giving yourself this month-long thing. But then like in the future, not everyone who will look at it will automatically know that you had these time constraints, and so they might see anything that's wrong or not done as well as it could as like more on you than on the constraints that you had. And so I'm curious what you think about putting like filmmakers putting themselves through rule sets like that.
Yeah, I think it really is a good way to get practice, especially putting deadlines in place for yourself. It really helps you. It helps you get a better grasp on how you're gonna perform under pressure. And I know like when you get to professional sets, like there's gonna be a lot of things can go right, a lot of things can go left, but it all really dictates like how you handle certain situations when you're placed in them. And so I think that's a good preparatory thing to be in is it's to pace yourself and do projects that will I guess like help you further along the way.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I could say to a certain extent, I've experienced this before where I like start to work on a project, whether it's in pre-production or I even end up getting people together for something, and then I think because I maybe don't place any sort of time constraint in my head, whether it's a month, 2 months, this season or something like that, it ends up falling off because I didn't set up the structure for myself. And so I think it's a good way to make sure that to motivate you to make sure that you actually finish something, you make something from start to finish, and don't lose it along the way, because I think that happens to a lot of filmmakers.
Dude, it's funny that you say like deadlines, because one of the music videos that I made, the experimental music video, like with Jill, called Freak.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that project took me, I think, bro, I honestly lost track already, but it took me over a year and a half, I think. I think it took me like 2 years to like make
Yeah.
that. And I'm just like, I didn't know I had the dedication to make something like that in my life. Like,
Yeah, and I guess, you know, yeah, we totally haven't talked about that. How earlier this year you released that experimental music video for that artist you really liked. And I remember, you know, you talk about the process, how it took you this like a long amount of time to do it, and it was funny too because like some things I was seeing in the video I could tell were relics of the past. Like one, you were on campus at Georgia State University, and
yeah.
two, Chris, who helped you with the music video, he was using his old car, which I remember when he totaled that car and got a new one, and I was like, wow, if that's being recorded, that means that this footage must be like fairly old, like decently old.
Right.
And I guess, you know, talk about that a little bit. You know what made you want to start making that video over almost 2 years ago, and why you think it maybe took so long for whatever reason.
Dude, that video was recorded like way back then. That was before I even got freaking dreads, bro.
Yeah.
What really made me want to create that music video was hearing such like beautiful music. Bro, it's really hard to describe. Like when you have such a strong passion for something, like you want to get it done, like no matter what the circumstance is. But yeah, I'd never heard like music like that before, and that's really what inspired me to make or to try to make a visual that matches like the vibe of the music. And so yeah, Jill, if you're watching this, I really hope you make more music. He's been MIA for I think many years.
Oh, yikes. Well, it's kind of interesting because in that same vein, you know, that music inspires you to make this visual. You know, the impression that a game like The Last of Us left on you inspired you to make this short film. And that's a very interesting thing. And that's just sort of a microcosm of a very widespread rule or sort of law, I guess, that, you know, new filmmakers and new creatives in any industry are always inspired by something that came before them, and it causes them to create new things that not only, you know, train them in that specific discipline, but also inspire them to create new things. And so you sort of have all these permutations, I guess you could call it, where you take all these inspirations, you funnel it through yourself, and then you make something new. And then somewhere along the line, somebody sees that and they take it in themselves and they put out something new. And so it's you can sort of see how certain themes and certain visuals trace through, like, as you call it, generations of creative artists.
Yeah, dude, like it's like a chain link of like different ideas and concepts being merged through you. There's this I remember watching Joe Rogan's podcast when Neil deGrasse Tyson was on it. He was like, reality is being filtered by you, or something along the lines of that. And he's like, I like it when things aren't like as they seem, like that we witness in like everyday life. You know, reality, that's kind of what art is being filtered through you and something new being birthed through you. Like you are the filter in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get inspiration through like everything, like through philosophy, through like photos, other movies, music, like literally anything you can get inspiration from.
100%. You know, I think I share like the same mentality as that, where I let sort of every stimulus around me like come into me and sort of use that to influence the things I do and the things I want to create. You know, whether it be music, which is huge. You know, most of the music I listen to, I do because it inspires this like visual sense in me to like create something with it. It inspires like certain emotions in me, and that's what I really draw from it. But something as simple as just like driving down the road and like seeing certain things and letting like what I see around me sort of pull in, like, hey, you know, that would look interesting, and if it was you know, filmed from this perspective and this angle, and, you know, dressing it up in this certain way, and so it's very interesting. I think it's very important that if you want to be creating anything in a creative sense, especially something as sort of intensive as film, you need to be very perceptive of your surroundings, to be very like open for things to like pass through you so that you can motivate other things around you.
Yeah, man. Most definitely. Yeah, like I really never thought that I could ever have the discipline to finish anything like that. I think what took the longest was really the special effects.
Mm-hmm.
I did a considerable amount of it. I think I did like, I want to say like 80% of it, the special effects.
Yeah.
That's probably why it took so long. Because I'm like a amateur in After Effects, I guess. But yeah, Ben did like the other portion. But yeah, I would say don't let your limitations and skill set hold you back from what you want to make. I would say definitely, if there's a will, there's a way. Like you have to, if it's in your brain, try your best to get it out by whatever means necessary, I would say.
100%. And yeah, that's interesting that the hurdle that sort of kept you from releasing it when you wanted to was this thing you didn't know a whole lot about, something you're new at, and something that's sort of difficult to master. And that's really interesting. I think that's what holds back a lot of people who want to do anything creative, is just like these individual hurdles that they have to surpass before they can do it, whether it's learning this new program or investing in this certain piece of gear or certain piece of a certain chunk of the puzzle. And I guess it's what's kind of I've at least appreciated a little bit about having classes that forced me to make these, is like the hurdle of self-motivation, I guess, is overcome by like, oh, there's like, it's a deadline and I have this grade that I have to accomplish. So that's helped me like actually sit down and finish the process from start to finish. And going back on that music video, was it a process of, you get it all recorded, you have all the footage, you're chopping it together, but once you come to that hurdle of all these special effects is when you start to sort of shut down and be like, I don't know if like I have like the time and the mental bandwidth to overcome this right now. Was that sort of what you were feeling at the time?
Oh yeah, all those thoughts were going through my mind. Yeah, honestly, it mentally and physically drained me, but I wanted it so bad, that I ended up creating it. But this podcast is for young people, and so my advice to young people, I guess in high school, definitely, if you want to pursue like if you know deep down you want to pursue like a creative like field such as like filmmaking, I would try to utilize all of your free time into like what you actually want to do. It's almost like when you reach like college level, it's like, things are starting to become more real. Like high school is like a free trial, and then college you have to pay for it. So
that's a great way to put it.
But then again, like, yeah, I would say utilize your free time when you're younger, so that way you're better prepared for what you may or may not think you want to do later down in life. So I would say just kind of like mentally prepare yourself for that.
Yeah.
And certain aspects of that.
Yeah, I'd say looking back on it, I don't think I feel like I spent it well, but looking back on it in the moment, at least I felt like I spent it well. But looking back on it, I feel like I could have spent more time developing certain skills like that, because when you're an adult and when you're in like the real world, you don't really have time to just dedicate towards learning things. You have to learn things through doing them. You can't just study how to if it's like, if we're staying on the topic of filmmaking, you can't really spend time learning it as much as you have to spend time learning it on the job, like if that's what you're pursuing. And so having as strong of a base as you can before you go into the real world is really important.
Right. Yeah, what got me into filmmaking, well, I mean, not say that. Like years and years of like YouTube University, honestly, just researching everything that I could about filmmaking when I was in high school, really helped out a lot. But yeah, that ties back into like, just utilizing your time to, researching and doing things that you potentially want to do, so it helps you out in the future.
Definitely. And you've been doing this for 4 or 5, 6 years almost, right? And you've been developing your skills all along the way and working on more ambitious projects. I guess from all those years, could you boil down in just a few sentences? I mean, I'm sure you've already mentioned a few of it, but boil down like the most pure nugget of gold knowledge you could pass on to young people trying to pursue creative trades.
That is a heavy hitter.
Yeah, take your time. It was kind of a heavy one.
Um, I would say utilize your time in the best way that you see fit. Um, Definitely pursue through the hardships that you may face. Even though, not everybody may support your vision, or like not everybody's gonna see your vision. So you have to be the number one believer in yourself and knowing that you can do it. Um, and yeah, bro, just try your best to have the willpower and just to push through and pursue what you actually want to do. So
Awesome.
you're
Awesome.
young, you have, I guess, you have time in a sense, but you don't have time. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, that's wise words from an experienced person in the field. Um, Jordan, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Yeah, I
Been
was
a
glad.
pleasure.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to make this happen again. Uh, Hope all goes well this time. But it was really great to sit down and sort of talk more on some points that we've already touched about. So it was a real pleasure.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Invite me back on anytime.
we'll have to do it. And before we end out, let us know. Do you have any projects lined up in the future, or and also where can the people find you to keep up with everything J Equinox?
Yeah. Let's see. J Equinox on YouTube, J.Equinox _ on Instagram, J _ Equinox on TikTok. Upcoming projects, nothing yet. I'm starting a new project coming out. Well, I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm starting a new project. Hopefully it can be funded, maybe, maybe not. But yeah, sometime in the future. Hopefully it will roll out soon.
Awesome. Well, you guys will have to follow him to find that out. But thank you all for listening to this episode of the Floor 26 podcast. I hope to catch you back here next week. But until then, have a great day.